terrorism is the biggest threat to world security. There are many active armed terrorist groups from North Africa to Far East and even in the Western Hemisphere who not only disrupt the peaceful lives of the public but kill innocent people and destroy public properties and historical monuments constantly. And they do all this in the name of God. They are against human civilization, and the only thing they like and appreciate from science and technology is the killing machines and their support equipment. They have no respect for human life and freedom. Terrorist organizations want to take the world back to centuries ago without realizing that science and technology, and together with it, human civilization, has progressed so much that it's impossible to take it back centuries. The most unfortunate fact about terrorism is that it is made and run by the very governments that claim to be the promoters and defenders of democracy in the world. Yes, you heard me right. The intelligence organizations under the guidance of their governments in the most democratic countries radicalize the least educated and least privileged individuals and create these monstrous terrorist organizations and use them for their political gains. Another unfortunate fact about terrorist organizations is that despite being non-productive and extremely destructive, they have access to huge financial resources. The question is, where are these financial resources coming from? The answer is very obvious. These financial resources mainly come from the governments, and not only the totalitarian, but the governments that are democratically elected. They use taxpayers' money to promote terrorism and use taxpayers' money to fight the same terrorist groups that they themselves created. To be clear, majority of the governments in the world use terrorist organizations for political and economic gains. The Taliban is a terrorist organization by all definitions. Among all, the Pakistani government has invested the most on terrorism, and it is not hidden from anybody in today's world. The Pakistani government, that has been run mostly by the military from the time it came into existence in 1947, has created several terrorist groups to threaten its neighbors, India, Afghanistan, and Iran. The Taliban is the product of the Pakistani military that has been reorganized, trained, financed, and armed by the Pakistani military under the watchful eye of the United States and its NATO allies. They got to the point where the US, a superpower, shamefully left Bagram Air Base at night. The question is, why did the US and its NATO allies not pressure Pakistan to stop supporting the Taliban and other terrorist groups? The answer is clear. The Pakistani military created most terrorist groups within the financial and technical support from the same countries that were in Afghanistan under the banner of the war against terrorism. They not only did not pressure Pakistan, but they provided Pakistan with over $20 billion that they knew exactly where that money was going. After almost 20 years of war, the US government sat with a terrorist group for negotiations and signed a deal with it that legitimized the Taliban and promoted it as a political group, expecting a terrorist organization to respect the terms of the agreement they signed. Isn't that idiotic? Pakistan is a terrorist supporting state, and unless the international community takes serious steps to sanction the Pakistani government, nothing is going to change. Other terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and ISIS are fighting alongside the Taliban, and they will grow under the umbrella of the Taliban. The international community, by turning its back on Afghanistan, are providing a safe haven for terrorist organizations to grow stronger, and before you know it, the world won't be able to contain them. That's a reality. Before we know it, the Pakistani Taliban will topple the Pakistani government and get direct access to nuclear weapons. I want to say a special thank you to Congressman Michael Waltz, former Canadian Minister of Immigration Chris Alexander, and all the other political leaders and diplomats who are working tirelessly to do something about the situation in Afghanistan. They have been continuously working to get the Afghan people's message out, and the only political leaders who know what they're saying, what the catastrophic results would be if nothing is done, and who speak the truth and actually care deeply about what is happening in Afghanistan. I, for one, will never forget what they're doing for us. And I also want to mention that today in Herat, they had a meeting in the University of Herat with the Taliban, and the Taliban refused to speak to the women, the female professors.
Shame, shame, shame,
Thank you so much for your time.
shame.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank
Say
you.
one more time. Zindabad Afghanistan. Hold it up.
Welcome to the show. Go ahead and grab a seat. Any chair you see, it's been a gruesome couple weeks trying to fight for peace. As I look around in the streets, we marching all alone, but they the first ones to tweet. I get it though. It's about clout, not the cause. Jesus had 12 followers and still got crossed. No love lost. Let's take it back to the start and say where the heart. In 79, Russia invaded Afghanistan, trying to take over the people and occupy the land. Though we weren't equipped, we the last ones to quit, fighting till 89 until the Soviets